BBA 104 Indian Ethos and Business Ethics, Unit 10 Introduction to Ethics. Ethics is as to principles or standards of human conduct that govern the behavior of individuals or organizations. Using these ethical standards, a person or a group of persons or an organization regulate their behavior to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong as perceived by others. It is not a natural science but a creation of the human mind. For this reason, it is not absolute and is open to the influence of time, place, and situation. Business ethics refers to a code of conduct which businessmen are expected to follow while dealing with others. Code of conduct is as to principles and expectations that are considered binding on any person who is a member of a particular group. The alternative names for the code of conduct are code of ethics or code of practice. We have studied ethics as a study of morality. It examines the moral standards of a society, group, profession, or religiousness. Whether these standards are reasonable or not, that is, whether they are supported by good reasons. It is the process of examining the moral standards of a person to determine whether these standards are reasonable or unreasonable to hold, in order to apply them in practical situations and issues. The aim of ethics is to develop a body of moral standards that we feel are reasonable to hold. We should not come to the conclusion that ethics is the only way of studying morality. There are several social sciences like anthropology, sociology, psychology also study about morality. We have to differentiate between the terms moral, immoral, and unmoral. Before we move on to that, let's quickly understand ethics. And we had discussed in the previous unit as well, it's not a science, it's not an art, it's a normative science which says that even if I look something under given circumstances or situation, some things cannot be disguised as ethical and being proven right. If we operate in such an unruly society where everything will be accepted as ethical or correct or substantial or subsequential, it will not give us a just society. Somebody will be suppressed under that situation, somebody will be in the wrong in that situation. So that is where ethics come into picture, and we have to operate with certain morality to make sure that the society is running on the right wheels. Now let's understand morality. Morality or moral is an expression connected with ethics which declares as good and right. On the other hand, immoral is a term which is considered as inconsistent with what is right. It is definitely wicked or licentious. The term unmoral does not connote immorality. Unmoral is an expression which denotes having no moral attached. The moral is not given up by making moral reflections. This expression is also called amoral, that is, neither moral or immoral, without moral sense or principles attached. Thus, ethics is a study of moral standards, whose standards those explicit purpose is to determine, as far as possible, whether a given moral standard or judgment based on that standard is more or less correct. So, with this, we understand the difference between morality, immoral, and unmoral. Morality talks about the black and white of good and right. Immoral talks about that something which has been declared right, it is not falling in line with those things. And unmoral talks about a person or an organization which does not have any moral basis or any moral background. So whatever activity they are performing is detached from the thoughts of morality and ethics. And that is what we understand with unmoral. Now let's talk about the concepts of business ethics. Business ethics comprises the principles and standards that guide behavior in the conduct of business. Businesses must balance their desire to maximize profits against the needs of the stakeholders. Maintaining this balance often requires trade-offs. To address these unique aspects of businesses, rules articulated and implicit are developed to guide the business to earn profits without harming individuals or society as a whole. The coverage of business ethics is very wide as it deals with the norms relating to a company and its employees, suppliers, customers, and neighbors. Its fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders. It reflects the philosophy of business, one of whose aims is to determine the fundamental purposes of a company. If a company's purpose is to maximize shareholder returns, then sacrificing profits to other concerns is a violation of its fiduciary responsibility. Corporate entities are legally considered as persons. A business is any organization or entity whose primary objective is to provide goods or services for profit. Otherwise, ethics is the study of morality. In short, the moral status of the sorts of decisions that are made in the context of buying and selling goods and services can be assessed as narrowed below. For any decision that affects some individuals in a positive or a negative way is a moral decision, and decisions made by businesses are among those that sorry are those that affect individuals the most. That being said, anyone who owns or runs or works for a business, in short, almost all of us, needs to be in the position to know which decisions are the morally acceptable and which are morally not acceptable. So, business ethics is the applied ethics discipline that addresses the moral features of commercial activity. In practice, however, a dizzying array of projects is pursued under this rubric. Programs of legal compliance, empirical studies into the moral beliefs and attitudes of business people, a panoply of best practices claims, arguments for worker participation in management, and attempts in applying traditional ethical theories, theories of justice, or theories applicable to firms or the functional areas of businesses are all advanced as contribution to business ethics, and especially in its academic literature. Therefore, business ethics is a branch of ethics which prescribes standards regarding how the business is to be carried out, business ethics guidelines to stakeholders. Business ethics is the responsibility of the managers and the employees. Business ethics is the application of ethical judgment to business activities. Business ethics means both as written and unwritten codes of moral standards that are critical to the current activities and future aspirations of a business organization. They can differ from one company to another because of differences in cultural perspectives, operational structures, and strategic orientations. The guiding framework of business ethics exists at all levels of the organization. It is all about having the wisdom to determine the difference between right actions and wrong decisions. In simple terms, business ethics fundamentally denotes the organization's code of corporate governance. It stipulates the morality standards and behavior patterns expected of individuals and the business as a whole. These moral benchmarks can be perceived in terms of the micro environment and macro environment of the business. Ethics is a set of standard or a code value system worked out of from human reason and experience, by which free human actions are determined as ultimately right or wrong, good or evil. In an action agrees with these standards, it is ethical. If it does not agree, it is unethical. Now let's talk about the importance of business ethics. Business is not entity not entity in the society totally jettisoned from the mainstream of society. It is only part and parcel of the society and its activities. As a matter of fact, all activities in society have ethical bearing and cannot disassociate business from ethical conduct. People of any profession, vis-a-vis doctor, lawyer, engineer, minister, policeman, or judge, should have their professional ethics and conduct. There are several stakeholders in business. They will be particularly interested in the behavior of the business organization. Naturally, they will expect a very high standard of morality and ethics in business. A business firm thrives with the trust and goodwill of its employees. The firm is expected to maintain high moral standards, treating all the employees with equality, encouraging team and work culture with ethical practices. Building the image of a business firm is an arduous task. This can be done only by upright and honest methods. An ethical organization commands not only trust but also respect from all stakeholders. All stakeholders gain a lot by the ethical image of the business. The moral standards of workers, the ethical base built by the company, and the excellent and systematic service rendered by the organization could not be even dreamt in the present day transport companies under nationalization. Lack of ethical standards will result in deterioration of the relationship between employees and employers, which will be in due course lead to decline in productivity and escalation of costs. Companies with high ethical standards command respect from the public as well as government. India's well managed companies are published by Business India. These companies have a brand value and accepted as leaders in the industry. Ethical practices of the firm in the long run bring enormous dividends, goodwill, and appreciation of the public. So, the basic thought behind the importance of business ethics is that if you follow an ethical business, you will be fulfilling the desires and goals of all of your stakeholders. And if the goals of your stakeholders are fulfilled, they will be contributing to the best of their capacities, which will in turn improve the quality, the efficiency, and effectiveness of the working of your stakeholders, which finally will help in increasing the final top line goal of the company, that is profit making. Gautam Buddha enunciated a beautiful truth. He was not against businesses, but insisted on being ethical activities. He said that the trader is like honeybee, which sucks honey out of the flower, but does not harm the flower. What Buddha wanted to emphasize was that no harm must be done by businessmen in the quest of personal gains, and that is what ethical business means. We can go a step forward about this analogy. The honey bee, while taking the little bee of the little honey out of the flower without harming flower, actually helps the flower in the process of fertilization by pollinating it. In other words, the bee, that is businessman, in the activity of sucking honey, helps the flower to multiply and grow its species. Thus, there is a symbiosis in this activity. The flower helps the bee with honey, and the bee in turn helps the flower to multiply. The business grows with the help of consumers, and consumers grow with the help of business, provided the activities are done with ethical base. Thus, ethics forms the foundation of good business system in society, which will be mutually helpful for growth. And this is the sum and substance of modern advertisements. Help us to grow so that we may serve you better. We grow to serve and we serve to grow, which explains the importance of business ethics in the most wholesome manner. Now let's talk about the elements of business ethics. Throughout the business world, no trait is more important and influential to the success of a company and than practicing respectable business ethics from inside and out. Solid business ethic foundation has four key elements. Firstly, a strong code of ethics. The Act of 2002 made it important for businesses to have an ethics code, something in writing about what one ought to do and what to strive for. This also serves to inform employees of the vision of the company's executives have for the company's image and goals. This helps new employees learn important aspects of how to carry out their actions at work and provides veteran employees with something to fall back on, both as a reminder and as something to cite if they are being pressed to do something that they believe to be wrong. Second, ethics training. Any ethics code, no matter how well written, that is not understood or followed, is only on the paper or disk space that it is stored on. Some companies have an in-house training department that can provide the requisite training. A trainer needs to have sufficient experience and training in the field of ethics to be most effective. Thirdly, ethics coach, either in-house or outsource expert, who will be available as a friendly and confidential resource for employees facing complicated ethical dilemmas, should be arranged in every company. This person needs to have sufficient expertise in employing ethical concepts, analytical skills, and decision making tools to facilitate an ethical resolution of the problem. Also, essential in an ethics coach is the assurance of confidentiality and also a friendly and upstanding coach who protects confidentiality and speaks with everyone in the office at various times, not just when there is a difficulty. Fourthly, a system for confidential reporting. This serves to provide employees with the means for reporting observed misconduct or violation without fear or reprisal. This serves to further discourage ethical violation while getting everyone involved. It also provides the all important do something about it option. Additionally, early detection and resolution of ethical problems may save the company huge amounts of money in cases such as theft or misconduct. Now, if we look at these four elements, it can actually be called the four pillars of any ethical structure in a business. The biggest thing that we discuss when we are understanding ethics that there is no right or wrong, and there is no way to there is nothing that could be referred to when we're talking about right or wrong. If you have a strong code of ethics, if you have a written code of ethics, you can always refer to it. You can always guide people through it. People can always gather clarity on what is considered right and what is considered wrong. It will also help in creating a value system of the organization of your own. Then the ethics training. The ethics training is very important. As I just mentioned, that every organization has a value system of their own. You need to communicate their value system, the ethics of your organization with your employees, and hence the training becomes important. Ethics coach. A child since birth is given the morals and taught this is right, this is wrong. But as his family, as his parents, or any guardian, do we not constantly help the child understand the right and the wrong in a new situation that comes up in front of them? Similarly, in a business environment, you can always have newer issues and challenges coming up in front of you. An ethics coach could be your guide, mentor, and support during that time, during that change, or during that new situation that you are in, which will help you to take the right decision. Then, system for confidentiality reporting. Anonymous and confidentiality reporting helps a person to feel secure and communicate an issue. Sometimes, out of the fear of judgment, out of the fear of social boycott, people refrain from having these discussions, which can be avoided and helped through the systems of confidentiality reporting. So, thus, we can call these four key elements actually the pillar of the value system in an organization. Now, let's talk about the advantages of business ethics. More and more companies recognize the link between business ethics and financial performance. Companies displaying a clear commitment to ethical conduct consistently outperform companies that do not display ethical conduct. So, the first advantage of having a strong business ethic is attracting and retaining talent. People aspire to join organizations that have high ethical values. Companies are able to attract the best talent, and an ethical company that is dedicated to taking care of its employees will be rewarded with employees being equally dedicated in taking care of the organization. The ethical climate is a matter of concern to the employees. Ethical organizations create an environment that is trustworthy, making employees willing to rely, take decisions, and act on the decisions and actions of the co employees. In such a work environment, employees can expect to be treated with respect and consideration for their colleagues and superiors. It cultivates strong teamwork and productivity and support employee growth. Retaining talented people is as big a challenge as getting them in the first place. Work is a means to an end for them and not an end in itself. The relationship they have with their employer must be a mutual, a one which is win-win, and in which their loyalty should not be taken for granted. Talented people will invest their energy and talent only in organization with values and beliefs that match their own. In order to achieve this match, managers need to build cultures, compensation and benefit packages, and career paths that reflect and foster certain shared values and beliefs. Second, investor loyalty. Investors are concerned about the ethics, social responsibility, and reputation of the company in which they invest. Investors are becoming more and more aware that an ethical climate provides a foundation for efficiency, productivity, and profits. Relationship with any stakeholder, including investors, based on dependability, trust, and commitment, results in a sustained loyalty. Thirdly, customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is a vital factor in successful business strategy. Repeat purchases, orders, and enduring relationship of mutual respect is essential for the success of the company. The name of a company should evoke trust and respect among customers for enduring success. This is achieved by a company that adopts ethical practices. When a company because of its belief in high ethics is perceived as such. Any crisis or mishaps along the way is tolerated by the customers as a minor aberration. Such companies are also guided by their ethics to survive a critical situation. Preferred values as identified, ensuring that an organization behaviors are aligned with those values. An organization with a strong ethical environment places its customers' interests as foremost. Ethical conduct towards customers builds a strong competitive position. It promotes strong public image as well. Now, to summarize, companies that are responsive to employee needs have lower turnover in staff. Shareholders invest their money into a company and expect a certain level of return from the money in the form of dividends or capital growth. Customer pay for goods, give their loyalty, and enhance a company's reputation in return for goods and services that meet their needs. So, now if I talk about the advantages of business ethics, which I just explained in theoretical format, let's take up examples to understand this better. The first point, attracting and retaining talent. We very commonly use phrases in our day-to-day life that someone once who has joined Tata will not leave the company. Why? Because we know that the company follows an ethical climate. They know that if their employee is going through something, they will not ditch on them and they will be supporting them in manner to keep them with, because they consider the employees as a part of their family. And as we discussed in the previous units, in such firms, the employees also feel motivated. They feel that there is something that the organization always has to offer them, and they feel motivated from within, which helps them to stick with the organization and not leave them for their personal gains. There is a collaboration between the personal goal and the organizational goal in such a ethical environment. Now, if I talk about investor loyalty, all of the companies that have an ethical environment not just have a good name or the most important intangible asset that we call the goodwill in the market, it also has the faith of the shareholders. Like, again, if I pick up, let's take Tata only as an example, or take another example also, that even if a big firm which is working in ethical ways, which is serving their customers right, even in the share market, if the share dip for a day, the commonly used slang about them is that they'll come back, they will bounce back, they have our loyalty. And when you have such an approach about a company, obviously it will have a very strong and solid investor base. That's how you develop a good financial backup also. How? Just by being ethical and moral in nature. Then let's talk about customer satisfaction with an example that we've all lived and seen. We've seen a case come up with Nestle, where the government said that the product Maggie has certain ingredients which is not good for health, and if you have those ingredients, they were taken off the market, of the shelf, and was not there for a year or a couple of months for sure. Did they lose their market share? No. Why? Because they had customer loyalties. Their customer was satisfied with them. They knew a company as big as Nestle would not deliberately put its customer into any sort of danger by using ingredients that will not be good for them. They came up with ad campaigns which spoke about the mothers were feeding you these products. Can a mother ever feed you the wrong thing? Can a mother ever intentionally harm the child? No. And how were these advertisements sort convincing? Because we trusted Nestle. They had been engaging in corporate responsibilities, they had been giving back to the society, they had been taking care of their own employees. And together, such an environment proves very positive for an organization, creating it what should I say, that a fruitful business to be in, because you are getting the end, you are achieving your top line. That is the top line motive of any organization or business, is to make profits, and you are doing it by just doing good, by just being moral, by just being ethical. So if we look at it, it's such a simple way of growing, by doing good to others. And that's what we have read in the previous units as well, that all you need to follow is your own dharma. All you need to do is do your karma with utmost honesty, truth, morality, and justice. Once you do that, your karma is going to give you the fruits. Your actions are going to come back to you. And that's what we cover in this unit. Thank you. After that, we'll start the another unit.